Today I'm going to show you how to balance a handstand on parallettes or P-bars. So I'm going to show you how to control the underbalance and also the overbalance in the handstand on parallettes or higher P-bars like this. Now there's lots of different variations of the P-bars. There's fixed ones you'll find at calisthenics parks or gymnastic places. There's these standalone P-bars like this that are around mid-thigh height. There's the lower P-bars or parallettes like this. And if you don't have access to any of those, you can use the dumbbells you find at the gym, just obviously with the hexagonal shape allows that to sit flat on the floor. Now one of the main benefits of using the P-bars is it's more of a neutral position on the wrist, more of a natural position. There's not an extreme of extension or extreme of flexion like there is in a false grip or in a handstand position on the floor. So that works really well if you are doing lots of false grip training and you want to superset some handstands with it. Instead of going from that to that in the same set, you can go from that to that and it's much nicer on the wrists. If you have poor extension because you do too much of this in the day on the computer and don't want to spend loads and loads of time stretching the wrists, it is much easier to use this position. And then when up on the bars, I can actually pull myself around and use strength to hold the handstand and not just fine tuning of balance. So a lot of people's balance window, how far they can move, is actually bigger on the P-bars than it is on the floor. So let's first look at the handstand entries and the overbalance training. So I'm going to grab hold of the P-bars in the center. I'm going to have my shoulders directly on top of the hands. And then from there, I'm going to kick to the wall. So notice the shoulder position stays on top of my hands as I kick up. So I don't want to start right back here and then have to throw myself forwards and use strength to stop myself. It's much more efficient if I can start in that sweet spot, lots of weight in the hands and shoulders to start, and then kick up to the wall there, keeping the shoulders directly on top of the hands. Now with the squeezing the legs together with the heels touching the wall, I can just try and pull the body off the wall as one piece. Now there's a little bit of movement happening there to create some tension, so some little bit of movement here, but I also need to have a really good connection between my hands and my feet. If my body's floppy in the middle, it doesn't matter what I do down here, it's not going to get to my heels and pull off the wall. And if that happens, we tend to kick off the wall then because there's a disconnect between the hands and the heels. So what I want to do is make the body one piece, squeeze everything together, and then push up and away with the feet while I just move the hands slightly. So I'm tipping the hands like that to pull myself off the wall while maintaining that one segment. So I need to push up and reach high with the heels, squeeze everything together. It's a bit like holding a heavy weight above my head there like this. I want to make sure that there's a good connection all the way down to my feet so the weight doesn't get stuck in my low back. We don't want this to happen. We want to be strong. We want to be one segment like that. Then once I have that, kick back up again, just see if you can pull away for repetition. So I pull away, hold for a few seconds, go back again. Pull away again, hold for a couple of seconds, go back. Once we can do repetitions, I can pull from the wall and hold there for time. So I could go 5 seconds and then return to the wall with control. So I'm choosing how long I stay there and then when I go back to the wall. Now the issue is with that one is if I come too far away from the wall, go past my handstand over here, I now need to know how to control the underbalance because if not my feet are going to carry on falling down towards the floor. So it'll look like this. So I pull away from the wall using that same technique, my feet go too far and now I can't get back and I just keep going all the way down. So when that happens, when I go too much into underbalance, I need to take something back towards the wall to pull me back again. So I prefer to teach the shoulders for this. The hips do work and I'll show you both now. So when I come this way, see my shoulders have now come forwards to counterbalance my feet being in the opposite direction, and that means that I can open the shoulders back to pull myself to handstand. So the other way of doing that is not to use my shoulders, but to use my hips. Now notice what happens when I use my hips is it's a bigger movement and it's a higher movement and it tends to flick me over fast back towards the wall instead of just pulling me back slowly and controlled back to that handstand. So I prefer to use the shoulders to move myself around instead of the hips where you get that flick that tends to be one extreme to the other. So then I could keep all that back to wall and I could work both the underbalance, the overbalance in the same movement. So I could pull away from the wall, pulling out of overbalance. I could go too far, go to underbalance, shoulders come forwards, and then I come back again. I can just practice that movement. Now that is quite tricky to do, and obviously I can balance already on there, so it's easy for me to demonstrate. If you're new to this, you'll find that you'll just keep falling down a lot. And it's actually easier to learn that underbalance part where the shoulders come forwards to control the feet going in the opposite direction when we turn around and go chest to wall. So with the chest wall version, I need to have my hands a little bit further away from the wall, create a space where I can walk up to the wall. Now, if this feels challenging just to hold this position, then you need to work a little bit more on your conditioning, and I would just hang out here for time. Now, we want to hang out like this. We don't want to hang out like this. So we don't want to be collapsing towards the wall. We want to be a little bit more in that hollow position or stronger one segment position like that. Now, once I've got here, I can start to play with the shoulders, taking the toes from the wall, which is mimicking that underbalance. So I take the shoulders forward, see how the toes slide down until too much weight goes in front, and now my toes come off, and I can push back up to handstand. So I open the shoulders back to there, then I can push back with that same technique we used with them when it was the other way around. And then again, I could do repetitions of that, or I could do repetitions to a hold and then go back to the wall. Now, the risk with that chest to wall one is that I go too far and then I fall over that way, and there's a potential of back splatting. And we have two options there. We could get someone to stand here, so if you do go too far, they can push you back to the wall, or we can learn to cartwheel or kick out of it. So to practice it, we just need to go up in that chest to wall position again, and then we're going to go to the edge of falling, so not obviously actually falling, so there, and then I'm just going to see if I can cartwheel out with some control. And then playing with different distances, playing with repetitions, and just keeping it safe, but getting closer and closer to that point where you're gonna fall, and then get used to cartwheeling out. We'll build more and more confidence and control in doing that movement. And then once you're ready, I would just play around with kicking up to freestand and handstand, knowing the wall's there, but just be a little bit further away from the wall, and just play around with rebalancing the position. You could play around with hold times. You could change into different shapes if you have that, and just test the freestanding control that you have. And a good way to do it is just a few reps of underbalance and overbalance drills using the wall, and then have a little play freestanding and see how you go. And then over time, you just do more and more freestanding and less wall drills. And I'd recommend you get comfortable on the lower ones first before you jump up onto the higher ones. You can do exactly the same drills on these higher ones, but ideally you would train somewhere that has a higher ceiling height, because I can't actually do this here because the ceiling is in the way of the wall, and it's just going to be very messy to do it and could result in me falling in a funny position. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions regarding the P-bars or training in general. If you're after any coaching, check out my website, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I have all my programs in the app, link in the description. I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.